Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Shuffle Bus. This time we have the Bus Brawl. And with me, as always, is my co-host and good friend, Mr. Neil. Hi, Neil. How are you today?
Well, I'm okay today. I wasn't very good this day.
Oh, you can't spoil it already.
The Twitch VOD is up. This isn't spoiling.
I know. Most people probably have already seen this on video on demand on Twitch, but this is really just for archiving purposes as well as anybody else that comes in, as well as just giving our commentary thoughts on the match, how it went out and played. So in this matchup, this is the round 4 of the Shuffle Bus Season 1 tournament. This is a fixed deck list tournament, and open deck list, so both you and I knew each other's deck lists. Plus, we were both pretty intimately familiar with each other's decks because we had sort of been testing them on stream against each other. So this is my Odette Hounds list, and your Xander Allies list, I guess is the word.
Just Skald
deck. And so my deck contains 6 Illusion Dice and 4 Sympathy. Yours contains 5 Sympathy, 4 Divine, and 1 Charm. Some interesting decisions were made here in the first 5. So in my first 5, I didn't go with the standard first 5 against you because we played this matchup so many times. And one of those things that I felt was a little bit problematic for me overall was how to properly deal with the owl, right? If I enter the fray the owl, you were always playing Angelic Rescue, and so you save the owl anyways because the 1 charm die is for a 3-eyed owl. And I thought that the best course of action would be to go ahead and put a card that would be a little less efficient than Sword of Virtue in my first 5 here and play 2 shadows. So I didn't lose the sword, I lost 2 shadows instead of a sword. That was my decision point here in my first 5. Whether that's correct or not, I don't know, but that was sort of my thought process on like what card did I want you to get rid of. I could have actually first 5 the Guilt Link and let you get my Guilt Link instead, which is a card that would have been
right.
Literally
in general,
dead.
I think if that's your line of thinking to like I have to have a card to discard the owl, you should just pick the worst card in your deck.
Yeah, the reason I still kept the 2 shadows, and this is really just one of those things where like I didn't know since we'd played it so often if you try to gamesmanship me a little bit and not play owl, and then like I just had a card that was actually dead in hand, and so like this was like still potentially playable if needed to be, and at worst case it was like, okay, I lost the 2 shadows, I still have 2 more 2 shadows and 3 swords in the deck.
I mean, I did play the owl.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into the gameplay component of it. So all the rest of my first 5 stuff is standard. Some a Salamander Monk. I have the standard Shadow Hound, Augury, and Resonance. I'll be Augurying for another Resonance to get the Shadow Hound focus 2 in round 1. Talk a little bit about your first 5 because we can't see it from my perspective on the recording.
Right, so my normal first 5 is Summon Wing Lioness, Summon 3-Eyed Owl, Augury, River Skald, and the fifth spot is a flex. Mm-hmm. Against Odette, I had been always taking an Angelic Rescue because you make an owl, they enter the fray, you play your Angelic Rescue, and then you still get to make them discard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is really good. But against you, because I know your deck pretty well, I don't think that I'm this is a terrible matchup for me because my whole deck revolves around River Skald, and your deck is not very susceptible to River Skald. So in my first 5, I first 5'd my single copy of Chain Creations because I figured that we were going to trade a bunch of cards in round 1, and eventually you would have a tapped Shadow Hound that I'd be able to kill with a Chain Creation and keep you off round 2 Shadow Hound.
Right.
Which turned out to be correct.
Correct. Yeah, I think that was a great play. So let's go ahead and get the game started, and we'll commentate through the rest of this. So as it sits right now, we're getting ready to do our first roll. So we'll roll off and talk about the roll, and then we'll go from there. So, and
here's me messing around with a new dice roller.
Right.
That I didn't understand how it worked.
I really like the new dice roller. So it looks like you pull 4 basics.
Yeah, my roll is not great, but it's okay. My deck is not super restrictive.
And we started the timer. I ran 2 basics. I think I let you go, or you go first here. You have 4 basics and choose, so I think you choose to go first. Yep, there it is. And then
I will pretty much always choose to go first because of Owlbook. it's very important that you like do it right away. And I'm pretty sure that's my opener here is just like play Owl Book, go.
Right, and I think I don't Odette the Owl at the end of this one, if I remember right, because I think I still just discard the 2 shadows to the Owl. But I could be wrong on that. I'm just trying to remember. I'm pretty sure your first book is Summon Owl Book, though. Yeah, that's what we're going to see first here. It makes sense. It's a really strong opener.
And I might meditate. I don't remember if I meditate or not, but like the Owl Book is the important thing that I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're definitely going to do some meditation.
I'm trying to meditate, but TTS is doing things.
2 cards. So Sonic Swordsman. I don't know what the other card was, just because it got buried. You're searching it.
And then I look because I didn't even know.
And I tried to look here, but I'm like messing up now. So there is a Angelic Rescue that goes down, and then also a Meteor.
Right, and Meteor is a 1-of in my deck. That was like not a great hit because it's a sweeper that goes through your particle shield.
Sure.
But I have a bunch of Earthquakes in my pile too that are very similar to Meteor. So
I'm just going to stay on plan, play Augury, side action exhaust, and get my resonance. This is what this deck does 99% of the time when you play it.
And it's good to do it now because you don't really like open yourself up to anything. Like this is a safe play.
And I'm trying to bring back Sympathy die because I'm a step ahead in my brain already of bringing back, but I haven't played Resonance yet. So
I remember giving you a hard time about this and telling you how insane Augury would be if it just search for a card and made you 2 mana.
Absolutely, yep, yeah. So no, that's just my brain getting ahead of myself there. So you play your version of Augury here.
Right. I think that I was under the assumption that essentially you were going to enter the fray the Owl whenever. Mm-hmm. And even if you thought that I had the rescue, like that's still like what you're gonna do because you want to make me use it.
Right.
So I just played Augury and searched for my.
And again, just out of sorts,
target.
starting here, I'm trying to play Resonance first, but I don't have the book down yet, so I got to play the book first and then play the Augury or the Resonance. And that'll bring back 2 dice. So I always bring back 2 Sympathy dice here. Main reason is because I need to keep 1 Sympathy dice in my pool at the end of this whole process for the Summon Salamander Monk. So
you definitely have to bring back 2 the first time because the second Resonance costs 2 Sympathy.
Right.
The second Resonance, you can bring back whatever you want.
Right. Once I do second Resonance, I do just the way my deck works, just for anybody that's watching and decides maybe if they want to try it or whatever. That second Resonance, you spend 2 and 1 basic, which is going to be an illusion in this case. You do need to bring back at least 1 Sympathy because that 1 Sympathy die coming back has to be for the Summon Salamander Monk because you don't have anything to use the 2 illusion dice for.
I'm over there. I just play my Lioness book and pass.
So we're back on play another Resonance onto the Shadow Hound. Pretty much like just exactly on plan. So we're going to get back the 1 Sympathy die and then the 1 illusion die. I want the illusion wolf side for 2 shadows.
I think that I did this poorly for anybody watching. That I should have made the owl before you had book resonated. Mm-hmm. I mean, this kind of like it's possible that this baits out the wolf because I know the owl's gonna die. It doesn't matter to me.
Sure.
It's just like eating up whatever removal spell the book or the Odette.
So my debate here is whether I go ahead and enter the fray. And I think I have the option to wolf here and then enter the fray because I have the dice available to do that in this, since I'm not running the Sword of Virtue. Because normally the Sword of Virtue would take my last 2 dice and the 2 shadows does not. So I know there's 1, so yeah, I go ahead and do the wolf ability to roll down your divine powers, which turns off the rescue.
Right, so as it worked out, because I didn't start the rescue, like I just crushed you there because
Right.
it just like by not putting Angelic Rescue in my hand, I made you play with 9 dice. It didn't actually matter very much, but
Right.
like I was ready just to let the Interprey hit the owl.
Right.
Period.
But I couldn't know that for sure.
Right. I think it's a fine play because you know that you're not on it. So here I make the lion, assuming that it's going to get shot by the
The wolf or the Shadow Hound. Yep.
yeah, by the Hound.
And that's exactly what you see me doing. Not wasting any time, going straight to the Hound as a way to remove the lion.
Right. And this is an interesting thing. Like one of the reasons, I mean, on top of the first thing I said earlier, where this is a bad matchup because Skald doesn't actually do much against you. I have a lot of my guys normally feel pretty resilient because there are many sources of 1 damage in the game.
Sure.
And all my dudes have 2 life.
Right.
But your deck has a multitude of 2 damage effects that are good against me because I have a lot of.
So here's the
life
Skald,
points.
probably just for a draw because it can't target the Hound because of the concealed ability. You still have 3 dice, and I know that gives you you're off Sonic Swordsman plan now because you need the Sympathy to play the Swordsman.
Right. I mean, I'm just waiting for the Hound to become tapped so that I can
Right.
shoot it with the chain creations because you know 1 card in my hand is Swordsman because I searched for it with the Augury. I don't remember what the card I drew.
So here comes a Skald attack. I think directly at PB. I let the Salamander Monk tank it.
Right. This is actually what I wanted to happen. I just like wanted to use my Skald before it was possibly killed by the Hound.
So I just attack you for 4. I leave the reason I do that is because I have the 2 shadows in hand, so I can just 2 shadows the River Skald. And so I just get to get a source of 4 damage in on Xander here. You do chain creations me now, which is very good. It does turn Hound book off for round 2, which Hound is a big component of the deck.
Right. I mean, knowing the list and knowing how this matchup plays out, like my plan going into the game was I was going to hit you with the chain creation, make a board in round 2 when you didn't have book to use, and then hope that an Earthquake was good enough for the round 3 Hound.
Absolutely. So you Xander a Sonic Swordsman back. I'm going to 2 shadows the Skald now the Xander ability is out of the way.
Yeah, I just wanted to spend my last dice.
Yeah, I just
pass.
really didn't want to 2 shadows the Skald into Xander, like because I just didn't want Xander to just get the Skald back. You know, like
Yeah, I mean,
at least not in that turn. So we reset the board here. I don't draw great here. I mean, double particle shield is okay. Skald and Hollow are fine. The Guilt Link is literally dead, I think, in this matchup. So I just Augury right out of the gate because I know I want a removal spell, and I get Sword of Virtue to put into my hand. This still opens up my last Augury, my last play for... I just go ahead and make a Salamander Monk. It's a safe sort of punt action here.
right. So this is a thing where like I have 2 swordsmen in hand, right? Like we know that. And I'm okay with that because I know that this is also a long game and I don't want to deck, so I'm trying to like draw as few cards as possible. But you just Augury for sword and all of a sudden I just don't want to play Light Swordsman ever.
Right.
I meditate a couple times.
Yep. Roll up a couple of power dice.
I'm pretty sure I just like play Light Swordsman just because I don't think that anything else that I do is going to trade with sword.
Sure.
Meditate again.
Meditate again. Go. So you got 3 divine power. That really does take my wolf away in terms of like being able to keep Angelic Rescue off of the owl. And that was a thought process, but I'm also just sitting on, a dead Guilt Link. So like if you owl me this turn, like I don't think I care as much.
Right.
I think I'm still going to try to enter the fray of the owl because it's just, why not? Why?
Every time I make an owl, I just assume it's not going to be able to activate. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to eat up the Enter the Fray or some other removal spell. and hope that I can stick my guys.
So we're just going to attack it, put a point of damage on it. I think really the thought process was if you don't use Owl here, then the River Skald can finish it off easy enough.
Yeah, I don't think I like that play very much. I think you should either kill it or ignore it.
Yeah.
Because
I think it was also just an idea of, like, since the Salamander Monk Spirit can't block, I wanted to get value out of it before I potentially got Earthquaked. I was worried about Earthquake sweeping my board before I got something out of the Monk.
yeah, I mean, I think your Monk's pretty safe from Earthquake right now just because there's not something that I want Earthquake.
Sure.
Oh, I didn't even use it.
Nope. You went ahead and played the Winged Lioness.
Okay. What was I thinking? Why didn't I make you discard? Oh, probably just because you have 6 cards in hand.
Yeah.
So, like, you discarding something out of 6 cards didn't seem very impactful.
Yeah, and I agree with that line of thinking. So there's the Earthquake.
Right. I make a Lioness search for Earthquake.
Right. So now I'm kind of on... I'm on a plan where, like, I can't play River Skald into Earthquake very well. So I'm like, I think I have to offer up. Like, at this point, I'm trying to bait the Earthquake out, is what I'm mostly thinking about, is like, how do I get Earthquake out of your hand on something that's less efficient? I mean, I have double Particle Shield, so once I play Hound, I know I can protect the Hound from future Earthquakes. But I can't protect all of my board, and River Skald's just a prime target. So I just go ahead and kill the Winged Lioness and suffer 2, and you rescue it. That's a big turn, but I mean, I knew you had a rescue.
Oh, because I had rescue, it makes more sense why I didn't activate Owl. I didn't remember that happening, but...
So I just meditate 3 here. So I pull 2, 3 off. And I get a Shadow Guard, a Hound Book, and an Anchornaut. I just want to threaten those wolves when you're down to 2 dice now, as a way to turn down. I was also kind of like a little bit concerned about Meteor here, like in general.
Well, that's wrong because you have my deck list and you know that the only one is in the discard pile.
Right, that's true. Coming back post fact, like that's probably true that. I should have just considered that, but I'm just trying to recall from my brain like what were the things that I was most concerned about getting played on me. So there's a River Skald.
Yeah, this is like a sad little River Skald, but it's, I mean, I get to kill your 1/1.
Yeah. So pitch a Neil to kill the Salamander Monk, and I make another Monk Spirit. Now that I know that you have Earthquake in hand, I'm trying now to like make it as punishing as possible on you to play Earthquake.
I mean, it's not in my plan at all to Earthquake you this turn.
Sure.
Because the only thing I care about Earthquaking is the Hound. So I just like put it in my hand because I wanted to be able to activate Augury for this turn and for next turn, and still have the Earthquake. Because your little 1/1s or whatever, like I don't want to Earthquake a board. Even if you hadn't put damage on my guys, I don't want to Earthquake a board that.
I also know you have the Sonic Swordsman, so I use a Wolf Power to roll down your dice to force another Meditate on the Swordsman. It's sort of a quasi way to play mill with this deck and force you to use more cards up than me. I mean, at this point, you've spent 6 dice to my 2, so I'm feeling pretty good about my overall turn strategy. So we're going to draw a card. I just pull another Sword of Virtue. We're going to use the Guilt Link to finish the Skald off. And then we're going to see if the Earthquake comes out here.
I don't know if I played or not. At least Skald like is a reasonable thing. Like
Sure.
Like Earthquake here is some amount of value. Looking back, like I feel like I want to activate Owl before I Earthquake. I'm not sure if that's what I do, but
Well, I really want to get the Hollow down because it's the only other threat I have in my hand. So, like, if I do get Earthquaked here, I would think the best removal would be Particle Shield. But you just attack with Lion into the Skald when I counter.
Yeah, I think I attacked face with the thing there, but
Yeah.
and you decided to block. In either case, I figured those 2 units were going to trade.
So this is a really tricky decision for me now because I can make a hollow, and I just punt to draw a card as a side action, and I get 2 hollows. So I think having the extra hollow here where I have all the dice in the world, I felt really confident in getting some ability to roll down your divine dice even more. That still doesn't stop Earthquake, but just the hollow doing something is not irrelevant. And now I can just like play a unit, attack, play a unit, attack, and then if you do Earthquake me, like sure it's a 4 for 1 here, but you do memory drain me. Yeah, and I go ahead and I lose the hollow. I think that's probably a mistake.
I think you probably should have discarded a particle shield.
Yep, I think so too. Because I have nothing else to do this round other than just attack with the hollow. I think that just playing another hollow would have definitely pulled the Earthquake out of hand. I'm just going to attack Xander for 2 here, leave the owl up.
Yeah, I think I end up Xandering here and playing another River Skald, but I'm not sure.
Well, you definitely have to meditate for it. Because I've rolled your divine dice out of Xander range as well with that hollow play.
Yeah, I think that I end up meditating, doing something, and the next turn Xandering Skald and playing Skald, but I'm not 100% sure. This game was not yesterday.
No, it's been some time since this game. Unfortunately, we've had a pretty big backlog of coverage to work on.
Well, that's good. It means we got lots of games played in our tournament
we did.
to watch.
Yeah. I really do think this is an interesting match. There's a lot of tension back and forth. Like, it's not clear right now in this particular board state that any one player is ahead.
I mean, I felt like I was losing the entire game. Like, this was my chance to, like, get ahead, but you essentially stymied me by just activating Augury once.
Sure. So here's the meditate one.
Yep.
Then you're going to go ahead and play the Swordsman.
Okay, so I don't do the Xander thing. I meditate to play Swordsman.
And that's definitely going to just get a windmill slam Sword of Virtue. You have to get those out of hand. There's just no way you can let me just hold on to them forever.
Yeah, I just made the determination that I wasn't doing anything better with my dice.
Okay, so we get a double pass and go to round 3 with you first.
Right, so this was something I kind of remember is I still had the option to use Xander, but I would have to meditate to do it. So it doesn't actually stop, like if I meditate and Xander, it's the same as if I just draw an additional card towards decking myself. And I didn't think that the units in my discard pile were going to be as impactful as a card that I could draw.
So I rolled 4 basics here, but I kept 2 class die from Illusion, and I did that because it just was 2/3 of the Hound book turned on.
Right. At this point, I'm pretty well dead, just because the only unit that I can make, and I don't know that I'm dead, but because I haven't seen the second sword in your hand, but the only unit I can make that you can't just kill for free, essentially, is Swordsman. And Swordsman just like gets sorted, and then I'm down a million tempo and dice.
So you make the meditation play. Looks like you're considering playing the Swordsman here right out of the gate.
I think that's what I do.
So you meditate 2, 3. Going to take all the divine dice up.
Right. And one thing that I would say about my deck in general is I wish that I had a 5th divine instead of a 5th sympathy dice. I was under the impression that there was going to be a time when I needed to like Scald twice and do something else, but that just never happened.
Sure.
And I having played the deck, I think it's a rarity. And here's another thing where I decided to spend my charm dice, which essentially puts me off of using Owl Book.
Correct.
And I don't know that that's wrong, but it felt pretty bad looking back.
So there we get the sword on the other swordsman. I like a 2 dice, a 3 dice spin for that.
Yeah, you crushed me.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, sword's insane.
I still have the correct dice in hand to play both particle shields and the River Skald. I don't have enough dice to play the Anchornaut this round, so if I play Anchornaut this round, I am giving up a particle shield in this particular sequence.
Yeah, Anchornaut's not even very good against me, so, like, I think you're okay.
There's the Augury.
I don't remember what I get. The only targets are, I get a rescue.
Yep.
So heal, rescue, and Anchornaut. And I think all the heals are gone. I know I discarded 2 of them to meditate.
I'd have to, yeah, I don't remember specifically tracking your heals as much as I probably should have. But you play a Wing Lioness. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to, like, get any kind of real threat on the board, and it's very difficult because, like, you have 2 main actions that you want to do.
So I think the best thing I could have
kill it.
Yeah, I think the best. I think you're correct. I do have 2 main actions, so I just meditate 2. I'm going to make the wolf dice here. No, I decide not to. I'm going to Augury first. I think that's good. Get rid of the last Augury. I can put either 2 shadows or particle shield into my hand here. I think I go with the particle shield because I figure if you owl me, then I can lose 1 particle shield and still have 2.
I was gonna say I think that 2 shadows is correct, and that's what you get.
That's what I get.
Like, either of those 2 cards is probably, like, very low impact this game just based on the board state.
Mm-hmm.
But 2 shadows is better at answering a potential issue that you would run into. But
yeah, I just choose to attack with the hollow into the Wing Lioness to see if you're going to counter. Or let Xander tank it.
Block with Xander, of course.
Yep. Which is totally fine. It just forces the Xander block, which puts me in a better place.
If I didn't have the owl in play, I would consider just trading the lion, because then you don't, like if you want to make a hound, you don't have any value out of it. You just get a 3/1. But because I had a unit for it to kill anyway, like, there's no reason to not use the Xander block when you can.
Agreed. Yeah. I also was just concerned that 3 units on the board would look pretty juicy to Earthquake and leave one of your units up.
I'm 100% not playing that Earthquake until you put a Hound in play.
Sure.
Like, that has been the plan since the beginning of round 2.
Sure.
And because, like I said, going into the, I don't remember what I kill at this. I think any target is fine. Yeah, one that hasn't activated yet.
Yep.
Essentially, I play the Anchornaut just so I don't have to pass. Because if I pass, you go first. If you pass back.
So I'll go ahead and make a Salamander Monk.
Right, and just, like, essentially, like, say go back to me.
Yeah, I'm just saying, Salamander Monk is just a punt play here, right? Like, it's just like, I'm going to punt back to you and see what you do, and then I'm going to make a decision.
And it's just like a safe play.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like, I am feeling very, very dead. Because I can't...
So I meditate the Augury away, make a wolf. That's really just to turn on the 2 shadows.
Right, and the Augury has no value.
The only value the Augury still has left if I don't do this right now is I can get a Shadowhound book next round before Augury.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
But, and I don't know, what did I pitch the Particle Shield for?
I owled you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because, again, owl is another one of those kind of actions that's just like, okay.
This is, again, just on the same plan of, like, if you decide to Earthquake, I want your units to die as well.
Yeah. I think that's a fine attack. Obviously, I can't Xander block. Another thing to consider, like, about the Xander block previously.
Okay.
So then I attack face and you block, which is okay, because I'm fine trading that card at that point after it ate an attack, and I mean, I don't think that I'm trading much better than that anyway.
No, I'd agree.
But see, we're still sitting in a situation where you're both ahead on dice and you have 2 main actions that kill my guys that you want to do anyway, like that advance your board.
Okay.
All right,
So we eat the Anchornaut.
Yep, and I do that because I still think I'm going to Earthquake at some time this game because I think you're going to make a Hound. So the Anchornaut will die to that, and if I don't use it for value, then it's just a 1 damage spell.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I was convinced that you weren't going to play another unit that wasn't Hound, just because you don't have very many, but you do have another River Skald in hand, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's all I can do. That when it comes down to the end of the game here like this, where we're both kind of low on cards and low on life, I'm a little bit behind to begin with.
So you make another owl.
No, not an owl.
What'd you do? Oh, you Xandered? Xander bring back Swordsman and play Swordsman? Okay. I think that's a fine play here.
Right,
for sure.
It's a real threat. I know you have the 2 shadows because you agreed for it, but like, I'm planning not to exhaust it.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to make the River Skald. I don't have an immediate answer to the Swordsman, but I'm just going to put 1 damage on it. And then I think I'd go ahead and decide to meditate, because now I'm on the particle shield. Like if I play Hound, I know you're going to Hound me, right? So if I play Hound, I can do 2 damage to the Swordsman, and then if you Earthquake, you're killing your own Swordsman.
Right.
So now I'm just needing the 2 illusion powers. One is to, if somehow your Swordsman does live.
Yeah, and this is where I concede, because I know the remaining cards in my deck, they're mostly Anchornauts, and like, I'm just not going to keep a unit in play. And we're going to get to the point of the game that I was starting to talk about, where we're essentially just on, like, you can't really play cards or you die to fatigue, and your books are better than mine. Your in-play things answer all of my in-play things, and they make you a 3/1.
Right.
Because you have the Odette and the Hound to kill my Lion and my Owl, and you even get to make a Monk, and we just enter this mode where you're doing things that I'm not, and I didn't want to play another 2 turns of that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Let's go ahead and pause this. I think, end all be all, certainly, I was surprised personally. I didn't think my deck was actually favored against you, but I was pretty happy with the resiliency of it, because Xander does possess the ability to eventually overwhelm my removal, but I have 6 removal, and the game's not long enough traditionally to...
Well, you have infinite removal. You're talking about 6 hard removal spells in the sword and I think that sword and 2 shadows only have 3 targets in the pile.
Sure.
And even if I play all 3 swordsmen and I Xander every round, I have to play to turn 4 before I can stick 1 past that.
Sure.
If we're just talking about how those cards trade. That's not at all how the game played out. You just had 2, right, to my 2.
Right.
And ultimately what won you the game is your sources of 2 damage, right? I've been talking up Odette forever and how good Sword is, but I actually am on the train now. I think that Enter the Fray is actually a better reason why she's good than Sword is. Obviously Sword is great, but Enter the Fray is insane. Just that it's 2 damage for 0.
Right.
So all my guys besides Swordsman are killed by Odette for free, and they're killed by Hound Book. It's not free per se, but it's what your deck is doing anyway, and it's how your deck wins. So if your main strategy and your free Phoenixborn ability that starts in play, kill all my guys, how am I going to win? My deck doesn't have a mill strategy or a burn strategy or some kind of pivot that can beat, without attacking with guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think you're right.
And particularly the strongest thing that my deck does, and if you watch a couple of my other rounds where I'm playing against decks that play to the board and I just beat them easily with River Skald, River Skald is bad against you because your best unit even though it has 1 toughness, can't get scalded because it's concealed.
Right.
And then like your other guys, like it's okay for me to scald your Skald or whatever, like that's fine.
Sure.
But scalding Monk is not great value, you know. So my plays of like, I'm gonna play 4 Skalds in the first 3 rounds don't beat you.
Right.
And I don't think they ever will.
Right.
So like I said going in, my plan for the matchup was I'm gonna start this Chain Creations, I'm gonna keep you off activating Hound Book round 2, and then I'm gonna hope that the sweeper in round 3 is gonna be good enough after I've like stabilized the board. Well, in round 2 I didn't stabilize the board, even with a hand that you drew that essentially had no threats in it. So I don't know how I could ever win this matchup.
The only play mistake that I really saw from my side that I would question is in round 2, when we got towards the end of the round and we got to the double pass section, I still had an Enter the Fray available, and I could have probably just Enter the Fray the Owl and not taken an Owl hit in round 3. That's probably the only thing that I really look at that was sort of...
Yeah, if there was a time that you had an Enter the Fray available and an Owl was alive, like, yeah, it's a misplay not to do that like as your last action.
Right.
Because I was out of dice before you in almost every round.
Right.
So you know it's pretty safe.
Right, and at the very least, even if you were holding 1 divine dice for that purpose, I would have still pulled the Angelic Rescue out if you decided to save the Owl to it. And
right, trading your Enter the Fray for Owl or for the Angelic Rescue that might be in my hand is fine either way.
Correct, because it's still taking you down a card ultimately.
Because the Owl is much worse after round 1.
Right.
It's still fine. Like getting a card out of your hand and having you spend a couple dice to kill the Owl, like, is good. But round 1 is when it's really effective, which I didn't get to do.
Right. All right, well, this is going to wrap up our round 4 matchup and the end of our round 4 coverage. We don't have any other games from round 4 from ourselves. If there are others, they're out there on YouTube land. There is a mega thread on the Reddit channel where it's got all of the coverage that I've been able to find and compile together into one source for anybody to watch this tournament. Round 5 is the final round of the tournament from a Swiss perspective. Then we'll see cuts for top 8. And then, of course, we will do as much coverage of our top 8s and top 4 and, of course, finals as soon as we get to those points. So we appreciate everybody that spends time with us on this channel. If you like this video, a thumbs up just tells us that we're doing a good job. If there's other things you'd like to see us do to improve the presentation, please leave us a comment below. We listen to all those comments. I make it a purpose to respond to everybody. So please don't feel like you can't reach out to us if there's something you see. If you're really loving everything we do, nothing says that more than hitting that subscribe button. It means the world to us. And we will be back with more Ashes Reborn content very soon. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in a future video.